It's science time! It's animal time with Hoover and Sparrow.
We're going to do something really fun today. I'm going to send Mrs. Hoover a box with an animal in it, and she's going to show you the mystery animal for today and introduce you to that animal. Here you go, Mrs. Hoover.
Mrs. Sparrow sent me a box. I wonder what's in it. Ooh, it looks like Madagascar hissing cockroaches. Ooh, that's pretty cool. Let's see. Let me set this down. So, look at that. It looks like she sent me a male and a female, a boy and a girl. And I can tell because if you look at it carefully, the boy right here has little bumps or horns on it, and the female does not. But, you know, speaking of Madagascar hissing cockroaches, I think they're called hissing cockroaches because they do hiss at times. Now, I don't know if I can get them to hiss. They're not going to hiss now, are they? But they do hiss sometimes. And sometimes they hiss because it's a way that they can protect themselves. They use it kind of to scare away predators. And it's just a way that that's what they do. Because you can see they don't look big and bad and scary themselves. Maybe some people think they do. But that hissing noise can kind of scare people away or animals or other things away. So that's the noise that they make. But with Madagascar hissing cockroaches, they are a type of an insect. And some people think of insects as bugs, but really we call them insects. And thinking of insects too, we talk about what makes an insect an insect. So when you think of an insect, we think of the body parts. So think about what makes an insect with their body parts. Let's see. Well, if you were thinking about that, maybe you had a list in your head. And one thing I thought about is insects have 3 body parts. They have a head, a thorax, and an abdomen. Also, how many legs does an insect have? Did you guess 6? Because 6 is the right answer. Not 8. Some people consider a spider an insect, and a spider's not an insect because how many legs does a spider have? Spider has 8 legs, right? That's why a spider's not an insect, right? So we think about 6 legs, 3 body parts. What do you see these things on their heads right here? They're kind of going crazy right there, right? Aren't they? That's the antennas. So they have antennas too. Insects have that. And then you might not see them on these, but some insects also have wings. So wings would be another thing when I think of insects. So those would be some things, some features that would make an insect an insect. Aren't they neat how they crawl around like that and move? Pretty neat. Madagascar hissing cockroaches are from the island of Madagascar, which is near Africa.
They are found in different parts of Madagascar, mainly in the rotting logs of forests and other moist tropical regions. So they live in this area of the rainforest.
In this photo, the male cockroach has the horns or the bumps on its head and the female does not. That's how you can tell the difference between a male and a female. In the other picture, you can see 2 male cockroaches that are facing each other. Sometimes they do this as a battle almost, and then they will hiss at each other, and it's a form of aggression. Also, when the cockroaches hiss, sometimes that's a way that it can ward off its predators. Female cockroaches have a cocoon or an egg sac. In this egg sac, it can contain up to 60 babies at a time.
The top left picture shows a hissing cockroach female giving birth to live young. That can be confusing because mammals are supposed to be the only animals that give birth to live young. And actually what has happened is, if you look at the bottom right picture, that is a female laying her egg case. And that's usually how that happens. But the top left picture can show how that egg case can actually start to hatch while it's still in the female. appearing for her to give live birth to those babies.
Here's a close-up picture of a male cockroach. You can not only see its horns and a little bit of its antenna, but you can also see its legs. And on its legs, it has little barbs or little pieces on it. That helps it when it crawls on different things, like it crawls up on things or trees or even glass. It helps it attach better.
If you look closely on the head, you can see two what looks like little insects on this hissing cockroach. Those are mites, and the mite and the hissing cockroach have a very special relationship. It's called a symbiotic relationship. That means they help each other. The hissing cockroach lets the mite live on its body, and the mite actually cleans its shell. It's almost like it has a built-in car wash or a shell wash.
So I'm going to be kind, and I'm going to send these back to Mrs. Sparrow because I think she just gave them to me to borrow for today's science time. So I'm going to put them back in the box, and I'm going to send them back to Mrs. Sparrow. So thank you, Mrs. Sparrow, so we could have science time with these Madagascar hissing cockroaches, which again aren't just normal cockroaches. They're kind of unique, aren't they? So I hope you enjoyed that. Here you go, Mrs. Sparrow. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Mrs. Hoover. Well, Mrs. Hoover, if I could have a symbiotic relationship with the Madagascar hissing cockroach, that wouldn't bother me at all. What a time saver not to have to take a shower every day. And you get to be friends with these guys. Mrs. Hoover and I would like to challenge you to make your own insect. Make sure that your insect has all of the parts. It has its three main body parts, its head, its thorax, its abdomen. Make sure it has antennae, it has the correct number of legs and wings. You could use all kinds of different materials from around the house. It's okay if you're not at school and you don't have the regular building supplies that we use. I might go out to my recycling bin and find an old egg carton. I might find some bottle caps. Okay, I've got a couple of different sizes of bottle caps here. I've got some paper that I had at home. Anything that you have at home. And I bet, Mrs. Hoover, what else do you think that they could use?
Yeah, Mrs. Sparrow, that would be great to build with some of those things. You know what you could also use? You could also use, maybe you have some tubes laying around that you could use to design and build with your insect. Or also, maybe you have some Q-tips. Those would be some cool things that you could use for your insect. So use some of those materials we were talking about for your insect and design an insect of your choice and create a name for that. So think about all the features and the parts that we were talking about that makes an insect, and we would love to see your insect. If you're in Mrs. Sparrow's class, you can upload your picture to her class dojo. If you're in my class, you can use class tag, and of course, if you're not in our classes, you can add a comment to this video. So again, we'd love to see all your insects that you've created. Great job!